this guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Questions orales, oral questions, Lemonhead.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. They don't even have a plan.
Just common sense conservatives who are saying that the Prime Minister's latest tax hike on small businesses, farmers, home builders, and healthcare is not worth the cost. Now, former Liberal Treasury Board President Scott Bryson says the Prime Minister's support for the tax hike is a combination of moral sanctimony and economic complacency from ministers who simply do what PMO tells them. He calls it socialist bafflegab. Why is the Prime Minister going ahead with killing jobs and raising costs with what his own Liberals call socialist bafflegab?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, despite the Conservative leader's partisan attacks, the raise on capital gains inclusion rates is very simple. If Canadians make more than $250,000 in profit from selling investments in a given year, we're asking them to share a little more of those profits with Canadians who need those investments, whether it's by investing in housing, whether it's standing up for school food programs, whether it's delivering dental care to seniors. These are investments we're making to support Canadians by asking the wealthiest to pay their fair share.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's not partisanship for me. It's his own former Liberal Treasury Board President who calls it socialist bafflegab. In fact, the tax begins applying on the very first dollar that a small business earns. And, you know, he's been promising that raising taxes would make life fair. We find out today from the Food Banks Association of Canada that now a record-smashing 25% of Canadians live in poverty after 9 years of his taxes, his deficits, and his doubling housing costs. Why is he going ahead with the same wackonomics that caused the poverty in order to solve it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition talks about affordability, but he's standing against raising taxes on the wealthiest so we can give more supports to those who actually need it. He's standing against our school food program, which is going to help 400,000 kids across the country have fuller bellies as they study, and take the pressure off about $800 a year for families who are pressed with the cost of groceries. We're continuing to deliver dental care supports to seniors, and as of next week, to young people and Canadians with disabilities. We're there for Canadians. He's voting against it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It has been 9 years of this Prime Minister promising trickle-down economics, that if he just takes money away from small businesses and workers, it will go from one level of government to another level of government to another level of government. It will trickle down. And now 25% of Canadians are living in poverty, something he tried to cover up, just like he covered up his own data showing $25 billion of extra costs with the carbon tax, nearly $2,000 in carbon tax cover-up for every single family. How can we trust anything he says about taxes, poverty, or money?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition hid for 8 weeks while he was trying to come up with an answer to us asking the wealthiest to pay their fair share so we could invest in fairness for every generation. I think he needs to go back to the drawing board because his answer is completely illogical and unfounded. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to delivering for Canadians struggling with food prices, we've got a national school food program that's going to help 400,000 kids that party is voting against, Mr. Speaker. They talk about affordability, but they're actually only interested in themselves and their political advantage.
For 3 months, this Prime Minister has known about serious allegations that parliamentarians are knowingly working with foreign governments to undermine our country. Yet we don't know if he's had a single conversation with any member of his caucus. And the Conservative Party leader doesn't even want to know about serious allegations of foreign interference that directly impact their party. Why do both of these leaders put the interests of their party in front of our country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, as all parliamentarians know,
The honourable member from Battle River Crowfoot knows indeed that he should not be speaking at the time. So I'm going to ask the honourable member, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, to start from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, all parliamentarians in this House know how important it is to protect our democracy from foreign interference. That is why we've been working together, whether it's on a National Security Committee of parliamentarians that we created over the objections of the Conservative Party, whether it's through strengthened mechanisms within our national security universe, but also through election interference monitoring by top public servants. We have taken more actions on preventing foreign interference than any other government, and we've continued to work with independent commissions like the public inquiry to get to the bottom of it.
The honourable member for Burnaby South.
And not taken action.
For 3 months now, the Prime Minister has had information about allegations of parliamentarians knowingly helping India and China. The Prime Minister thinks he knows better than everyone, but he has failed to act. He's done nothing. And meanwhile, the Conservative leader is hiding because he does not want to know the truth. Why will neither of these leaders put Canada's best interests before their own best interests?
The
Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, last week, both the NDP leader and the Green Party leader obtained security clearance such that they were able to read the full, unredacted, classified NSICOP report. Then they were able to share their point of view. They had 2 different points of view, but they were able to read it and share that. But the Conservative leader has chosen to remain ignorant, in the dark. He does not want to obtain security clearance to read the classified information because he prefers to simply engage in partisan attacks. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister divides to distract. He turns groups against each other. He fans the flames. He gave funds to an anti-Semitic Holocaust denier. And so even before October 7th, hate crimes were up 162%. And since, we've seen the rise of Hamas-inspired hate camps at university campuses that intimidate Jewish students and promote genocide. Will the Prime Minister finally summon the courage to join with me and call for these hate camps to be shut down and closed up so that students can safely go back to school?
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
I welcome the Leader of the Opposition recognizing the divisive rhetoric and the division that is occurring in Canadian society right now. We have a problem with hatred. We've got to address that problem with hatred. We know that the statistics show that hate crimes are on the rise 130% in the last 5 years. That's why I was proud to stand with CJA when we tabled Bill C-63, the online harms legislation that would improve penalties for hate crimes, that would provide a definition of hatred, that would ensure that we are keeping Canadian communities safe. The Special Envoy on Anti-Semitism supports the bill. CJA supports the bill. I'm just wondering why the Leader of the Opposition does not.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
About those hate camps, all while he allows 700 agents of the Iranian regime to openly operate in Canada 4 years after they killed 55 Canadians, 30 permanent residents, and funded the brutal massacres of October 7th. 6 years of excuses and they did nothing. But with a by-election on Monday and the Prime Minister desperately needing to pad his margins, it turns out that there might be enough pressure for them to finally ban the IRGC terrorists that they should have banned years ago before they set up shop here to terrorize our communities. Why does the Prime Minister always put himself ahead of the safety of Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Security.
Mr. Speaker, our government has taken a series of measures to hold the murderous Iranian regime to account. We have consistently said and taken measures, whether it's under immigration legislation. We've listed the Revolutionary Guard Quds Force in terms of being a terrorist entity. Mr. Speaker, we take advice from national security agencies in terms of listings, and we think that honourable members should allow that process to take place. And when we have some news, we'll be making an announcement appropriately.
The honourable member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
The $30 billion carbon tax cover-up has been exposed. This costly cover-up coalition hid a secret government report proving the carbon tax scam commits $30 billion of economic vandalism. The culprit of this cover-up is the Environment Minister, who has a profound love of orange jumpsuits and handcuffs. He did it to protect the leader of the NDP's pension. These champagne socialists are not worth the cover-up or costs. Why hasn't this Environment Minister been fired for misleading Canadians?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the average income in Calgary Forest Lawn is $35,000 a year. The average person in Calgary Forest Lawn can only dream of having an income of more than $250,000 a year. But their MP thinks that the average person earning $35,000 in Calgary Forest Lawn should pay tax at a higher rate than a multi-millionaire making a profit of more than $250,000 a year. That is shameful, Mr. Speaker.
I know this is the fifth week in a row that the House is sitting, but I'm going to ask all members on all sides, please, to not use your voices unless you're recognized by the Speaker to ask a question or to answer. The honourable member from Calgary Forest Lawn.
Looks like she has a PhD in wackonomics. Facts are like common sense in this government and not so common. This proud socialist environment minister's woke, radical, extreme agenda sent 2 million Canadians into a food bank and 1 in 4 into poverty. His government hid a secret report that proves the carbon tax scam cost Canadians an extra $30 billion. If anyone in the private sector covered up a $30 billion loss from shareholders, they'd be fired. So how the hell does this guy still have a job?
The honourable member has to be this is a message for all honourable members. You have to be very careful about the language that you use in the House. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, let me share some economic analysis, and I quote, "Here we have a monstrous policy of transferring wealth from wage earners to asset holders, from the working class to the wealthy. Here we have a policy that is specifically designed to transfer wealth from those who earn wages to those who earn capital gains through their assets." Who said that? The current Conservative leader. He was railing against the holders of assets and claiming to support working people. But we learned last week that is fake populism.
The honourable member from Caribou, Prince George.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, Canada's on track for the worst living standards in 40 years. Now the Prime Minister's radical finance minister are hiking taxes on farmers to pay for their inflationary spending, all during a food crisis. A new report indicates that the Liberals' job-killing tax hike will cost average farmers 30% more in taxes. Canadians know that when you tax the farmer who grows the food, tax the trucker who ships the food, it's all Canadians who pay the price. How is that fair?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, as the proud daughter of a farmer, I know the huge contribution farmers make to our country. And that is why I am glad that with these tax measures, we are able to increase the lifetime capital gains exemption to $1.25 million for each farmer in Canada. I also know that farmers are hard-working people. They're on the side of the working people, not on the side of the multimillionaires. But that's not the side the Conservatives are on, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Caribou, Prince George.
More Canadians are struggling to feed their families. 25% of Canadians are living at poverty. They can spin this 100 different ways, Mr. Speaker, but Canadians know the truth. First, this government punished Canadians with a carbon tax. Now they're imposing a job-killing tax hike on the people who produce and provide the services we need to survive. Farmers, welders, plumbers, home builders, doctors, and small business owners will all be decimated by this hike. Will the minister commit to exempting any Canadian earning less than $120K a year from this job-killing tax hike?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are showing that not only are they fake populists, they're populists who can't do math. We have been really clear that the new level of capital gains inclusion kicks in only after each individual has made $250,000 in capital gains. And you can do that every single year. That's the reality, Mr. Speaker, and the Conservatives are ashamed of themselves.
The Honourable Member from St. Margaret's, South Shore, St. Margaret's, rather.
The Environment Minister is already under fire for his $30 billion carbon tax cover-up. He was a lobbyist for Cycle Capital. Cycle Capital companies got more than $200 million from the Liberal Green Slush Fund. Wow. Now we learn he is still a big shareholder in Cycle Capital. And since becoming Environment Minister, Cycle Capital companies have gotten another $17 million from the Green Slush Fund. Liberal insiders getting rich on taxpayer money, a carbon tax cover-up, the Environment Minister profiting from the Green Slush Fund sleaze. When will Liberal corruption end?
Never. The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
For the question, you know what is profiting for all the work of this government and all the members in this House is record investment in green technologies in this country, Mr. Speaker. We rank #1 ahead of China for the battery ecosystem, Mr. Speaker, in this country, and I have more.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
3 more sleeps.
A couple of more sleeps. The Honourable Minister of Innovation from his top, please.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I have more to say for these sleepy Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we know what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. We have seen, thanks to the work of this government, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Environment, all this bench, the Prime Minister, we have seen record investment in this country, Mr. Speaker. We rank first in the world for